Hi, and welcome to this course. This course is going to be a Django tutorial where we learn Django by building a social media web app. If you're a beginner and you're just getting started with Django, you can take this course because I'm going to be explaining every single thing I'm going to do. And I'm going to start by introducing to you what Django is, why you should even use it. So if you're a beginner, then this course is definitely for you. And if you're also familiar with Django and you just want to build a social media project like as a side project or something, then go for it. Now I have some free resources like a Django roadmap, a Python data structure cheat sheet, a Django cheat sheet, and plenty more free resources in which I compiled into a PDF, and you can download that PDF for free using the link in the description below. And if you like more tutorials like this, you can also check out my own channel at Code with Tomi where I teach more on Python and web development in general. Now having all this said, let's dive straight into this video. So now let me show you around everything we're going to be building in this project. So this is the end product of this project. So as you can see, we have a feed. So this is just a post feed where we see the posts of the users that we are following. And then once we have this, we also implemented a feature which can allow us to like a user's post. You can just click on the button and now you see it says liked by one person. So now we can also click on the button again and no likes, so we can like and unlike a post. We can also click on the name on that post and then it takes us to the profile page of that post. So now in this profile page we can see the profile image, the username, the bio, the amount of posts this user have, the followers, and the following. So now if we unfollow this user, we see now that this user has 0 follower. Let's follow him back just to support him. Now he has 1 follower. So we added these followers and following feature because what's a social media without the followers and following feature? And now after that, right here we can just see a list of all the posts the users have, and we can click on it. And once we click on one, we'll be able to scroll through all the images of all the posts the user have easily. Now we can come back to the home, and as you can see, we right here we have these users you can follow. So we did a little bit of suggestion field here. The currently logged in user will make sure that the users that has been suggested are not people that is following already. That's so right now if we click on view user, you see that we are not following this user. That's why it was being suggested. And this is a brand new user. He has no post, no follower, no following. So if we follow this user right now, he has 1 follower, and we go back to the home, you see that that user is not suggested again. Now that's because we already follow that user, so we can't be suggesting someone that you already follow. Now after that, we also added a feature which will allow us to upload pictures. So we can just choose the picture, write the caption, hit upload, and then the people that are following us will be able to see our latest post. And we also have this account settings feature. For that, the first thing we did in this project was to do the user authentication, where a user can sign into our platform and register on our platform, which is very important. And also when it's logged in, it can log out. So if I log out right now, you'll see that we have this login. So I can just log in since it's already auto filled. And now we have that, and we come here and we can click on account settings, and right here we can change our profile image, our bio, our location, and everything we need to change. Press cancel, it just takes us back. And we also have this search function which is also key. So we know we have a user that is named Jasper, so let's come here and just say Jazz, and let's search. You see that it gives us Jasper, gives us his location LA and his bio. If we click on Jasper, we can see his page. This is also a brand new user. So this is basically what we're going to be building. And note that you can add a lot of features that you want to add yourself also, because after this project, the main purpose of this project is to introduce you to things you can do with Django. So I hope that after this course you will be comfortable with Django and you can take what you learn from this course into your own project to build your own project or even enhance this project that we're doing. Having all this said, I also want to say that the source code to this project where you can get the template file. So as you can see, we are using a template for this project, where you can get the template file we used and the whole source code to everything we coded. I'm going to have a GitHub link to the source code, and you can just easily get the template file and full and code along, and you can just get the source code also. So if you are stuck somewhere, you can just easily check that out. So for the beginners taking this tutorial, I'm just going to quickly give a brief introduction to Django. So what exactly is Django? Django is a Python web framework. Now what I mean by that is that using Django, you can build web applications with the Python programming language. Now if you recently learned Python or you know Python already and you are looking to go into the web development field, then Django is a good choice for you. Now there are various reasons why companies and developers choose to use Django. Some of these reasons are because Django is fast, there's a large community, Django provides the security to your application, Django is also very scalable. Now these are just few of the reasons why developers choose to use Django. But one key one is that Django has a very large community. Now this is important so that when you encounter an error or when you're stuck on something, you can easily search that error and there's probability that someone has already solved it for you online, maybe on Stack Overflow or something. Now this is very important so that you can easily fix your bugs or fix your errors by just a Google search. So Django has that large community of a lot of developers around it. So having this said, I hope you have an understanding of what Django is and why you should even choose Django. Now let's go to the next section. Now the first thing we want to do is to create a new Django project. So I'm in this folder here, which is just, I created a new folder named social book. The social book is going to be the name of the social media application that we are building. I just created a new folder on my computer in documents. That doesn't really matter, but what I just need is to get the directory to that folder. So this is where I want to create my Django project and develop everything. So now that I have the directory to that folder, I'm just going to open up my command prompt right here. So you might be on a Mac, you might just open up your terminal, or any other OS you are, just open up the terminal in there. So right here, I'm just going to go into that particular directory. So right now I'm in that directory. If I press dir, you see it's empty. Let me press CLS to close it up. I'm going to be building this social media application from scratch to the finish. So I'm going to show you how I build applications when I am developing my side project or something, so you can totally relate with it. So right now we are in this directory, and if you are new to Django, when we want to create a Django project, we use some command lines. So to create a new Django project, what we will do is to say Django -admin start project, and then the name of the project right here. So this will be the name of the project. So this is the command line we use to create a new Django project. But before you even want to create a Django project, you need to make sure that you have Django installed. Now, you know, in Python, we have pip, which is a Python package manager. If you install Python, if you have Python installed already, pip should come with it. So just to make sure we have Django installed, we're going to type pip install Django. So this is going to install the latest version of Django for us. Now, I already have this installed on my computer, on my laptop. So it should tell me that requirements already satisfied. Now that's because I already have it installed. But for you, if you don't have it installed, if you are new to Django, as I said, it should go ahead and install that for you. So it's going to pop up now and tell me requirement already satisfied. So we should do that second. Okay, we can just out of that. And so I cancel the operation because I already have that. So let me just close. I like cleaning up the command. So right now, let's just create a new Django project in this particular folder. So what I did, I first came into the folder, make sure I have Django installed, and now it's time to create a new Django project. I'll say Django in admin, start project. I'm going to name it social book. So this is going to create a new folder named social book in this particular directory. Now if I press dir, you see now that I have a new directory with a folder named social book. If I also go back to that folder, now I have a new folder named social. If I go into it, you're going to see that it creates this other folder named social book and a file named manage.py. So just going to go into that particular Django project I just created by saying cd social book. Now I should have manage.py and social book again. If I come back here and enter this social book again, I'm going to see some files, which is basically just the files that Django creates to get our application. So now that we have this Django app running, we can just test it out by running it on our server. But what we're going to do first is to create our Django app. So we have a Django project and we have a Django app to take all the functionalities. So let me just quickly explain the difference between a Django project and an app. So take facebook.com for example. We have facebook.com, which is the main project. So for here, we have social book, which is the main project. But let's say you want to have a feature like messages or notifications or post feed. Each of those can be different apps. Now it depends on how you want to do it. Me personally, I like having one project and one app, and that app can take all the functionalities like all the features, the logging in, signing up, authentication, and everything. But normally, you can have a project and different functionalities as the app. So let's say facebook.com, as I said, is the main project. Facebook is the project here. Then we can have like the authentication scheme as a different app just to take care of the authentication. And what I mean by that is user authentication means logging in and registering a user. We can also have another app to take care of the notifications. We can have another app for the messaging platform. So that is just the basic understanding of difference between Django app and Django project. So you can say a Django app is like a subset of Django project. But for this project, we're just going to have one app that's going to take care of everything. So now that we're in here, let's just create a new Django app. And the command is similar to creating a Django project. So we'll do Django-admin start app, and we'll name the app. Because it's taking care of everything and we're not giving it a specific name, you can just say core. So I like naming my apps core. That's just me. But you can name it anything you want, totally. Now if I press dir, I have a new folder named core. We come back here now, I have a new folder named core. And in there, I'll have this bunch of files that we're going to be looking into later when we are using them to develop. So right now I have everything taken care of. I've created my Django project and I've added an app to it. Now let me just run this project and make sure that everything is working fine on the server. So to run your project or even see if the installation has worked successfully, what you need to do is to say python manage.py run server. Now note that if you're on a Mac, you need to add python 3 manage.py run server because the recent version of Django doesn't support Python 2. So as you can see, it gives us this output. Just ignore this for now. And what it just wants us to do is to go to this URL on our browser. Right here, we can paste it. And then it should, boom. So this is it. What this is now is that it's saying that we have successfully created our Django project and it's working successfully. You can see here, there's the install work successfully. Congratulations. Now this simply means that everything we created has worked successfully. So this is the URL that we're going to be seeing all our project or the output of our project in. So that's the localhost port 8000. That's the default URL for Django. When you run your Django on your local server on your machine, it is. Now that we've created our Django project and stuff, this is basically the home URL of our website. But when a user comes to our website like socialbook.com, we don't want this to show, right? We want to show like our own template, our own design, our own social media. So let's get into that. Let's go ahead and set up our URLs. We're gonna go into Visual Studio Code now. If I come here, I have my Visual Studio Code open and I have imported the project we just created. So let me quickly walk you through how to do that. So just make sure you have Visual Studio Code or any other code editor that you are using, and you come right here and click on open folder. And once you click on open folder, just go to the folder where we created this Django project, and it's going to open up that project for you right here like this. So what we just want to do, as you can see right here, we have core, which is the app we created, and we have social book, which is the main project we created, but we don't have money.py and some other files. If I come back to my folder right here, see that we should have money.py and SQLite database, but it's not there. That means they didn't import while I was selecting. So what we just need to do is to come to file, open folder, and make sure you don't select anything, just open the whole folder and it should. So we don't want to save anything yet because this is seeing it as a workspace. We just want to open it as a folder. Now you should go ahead and open that folder up for us. And then once we have this opened, what we just need to do is to set up our URLs. Cancel this, cancel this. So as you can see now, we have everything imported or opened. So now let's go ahead and set up our URLs. So if you don't understand what I mean by URLs, what I just simply mean is the path of our website. So when a user comes to socialbook.com, where should it go or what should happen? Or when a user comes to socialbook.com/profile, what should happen? So basically each of those paths are URLs. Like socialbook.com/profile is a URL that we need to set up. Once the user comes to /profile, something will happen. But if we don't set that URL up, then it doesn't exist. Don't worry, you're gonna get this. The first thing we want to do is to come into our app and create a new file in there and name it urls.py. So right here now, we're just going to import something from Django. If from Django.urls import path. Now this path is going to allow us to be able to set up our URLs. And now we're going to have a new list and name it URL patterns. And now to set up our home URL, say path, and we leave it blank. Once we leave it blank like this, this is signifying that we're setting up our home URL. Or if we do something like profile, this is signifying that we're setting up our website/profile. So now, after this, we'll put a comma and we'll say views.index, the home, and we'll give it a name of index. So what this is doing is that this views is where we basically do most of our coding. So you are going to understand what I mean by view.index in a bit. But first of all, before we can even access these views, so these views right here that we're saying is this views.py file in the same directory. I'm just going to go ahead and open that. So before we can access that file, we need to import it. So we'll say from dot import views. Now we have views imported. We can use views.index. But if we're using views.index, there is no function or no class or anything like index in here. So we need to set that up also. And we're just giving it a name, like a keyword for this particular URL, index. So basically what this is saying is that once the user comes to the home URL, go to the views.index, whatever is being done there, just basically show that to the user. So now we can save this. I'm going to come into views. Now we need to set up a new function for the index. I need to take a request. And now we can return a simple HTTP response, but first we need to import that from Django.http import HTTP response. Now we can just say return an HTTP response h1 and say welcome to social book. Now this is what we need to set this up. Let me explain what I did here. So as I said right here, what we did was we imported path, imported views, and then we set up a new URL named the home URL, which is empty, and we said it should go to the views.index. And this views.index basically is come into this views file and it will go to .index. It look for any function that is .index. So now that it has .index, whatever is being done here in this function is what is going to serve to that particular URL. So now, since we're just sending an HTTP response, this is just what it's going to show. Let me save it now. One more thing. Before this can reflect on our main project, we need to set the URLs up on our main project. So as you can see, we set it up on our app. But if we come into social book, come into URLs here, what we just need to do is to import something called include. And now we just have to set up the home URL. That's the only thing we need to set up right here. And we'll say if someone comes to the home URL, just include core.urls. So what this is saying is that if someone comes into the home URL, include core.urls. Now this core.urls is our app, which is core.urls, which is. So it's gonna go into core.urls and look for any path that is similar to this, and whatever is being done there is what it is. So which is this path, and then this path also links to views.index, which is right here. So everything just linked back to returning this HTTP response. Now this is done. Let's just make sure our server is running. So this gave us an error when we use views.index, but we haven't defined index in the views file. So let's go ahead and refresh this. Go ahead and refresh this now. It should update and not give us any error because obviously we've already added that index function in our views. So it still says index is not defined. So let's make sure we saved our views.py right here. Also, now it's reloading. Let's see. Okay, let's make sure everything is working fine to this point first of all. Okay, so we have core.urls in line 5. We say index. In here, first of all, save that so it can reload. So sometimes we need to like reload, and let's just do views dot index name index. Save again. Now let's see once it reloads. Good, as you can see now everything is working. So sometimes Django just need a little bit of tweaking or reloading so it can update. So now let's go back to this that we ran, and we shouldn't see this again now. What we should see now is that HTTP response, welcome to socialbook. So as you can see, what we see now is welcome to socialbook. So basically we've removed that default Django template that was showing installs work, and we've given this HTTP response on our home URL. But this is still not what we want. What we want is to show a template, basically. That's what we're going to do. Now let's go ahead and set up our template. So if I come in here into the folder, I'm just going to go right here, and you see I have one folder called template here. So this is just basically the template for that we're going to use in this tutorial. So it's just a free template, and everything, the whole template and everything will be in the GitHub link of this project, so you can get the template also. And I have these two templates here. One is for the profile, one is for the main, for the index sign up, everything. And what I just want to do is to drag this. I'll select it first of all, and I'm going to drag the HTML files into a particular folder. But before that, let's come into our Visual Studio Code. So before we can even use any template, we need to do some configurations right here in VS Code. Let's close this social book URLs. We don't need that again. Now we want to go into our settings.py file, and right underneath here we just want to import OS first of all, and let's scroll down. So in installed apps, when you first create an app, it's always advisable to add that app in here. Now this is not relating to the template, but just so we don't get an error later, let's add that app. So now that we have that, let's scroll down. Right here where you see this template is a list, and what you're just going to do is to come into theirs, and this theirs is just specifying the where Django should go and look for all our template files. So let's just stop. And in the base directory of this project, now when I say base directory, I mean the same directory which contains the manage.py file. So the base directory of this project, we're going to create a new file and we'll name it templates. And in here is where all the HTML files of this project is going to be. So we need to tell Django that that is where everything is going to be. That's what we're going to do right here. So first of all, we need to import OS as we did. We're going to come right here under theirs. I'm going to say OS the path the join base there, which is the base directory, going to template. So it says from the base there going to template. That's where you should look for all our templates files. But that's basically all we need in telling Django where to look for our templates files. So we'll just save that. And right here in our template files now, we need to load it up with our HTML files. So let's come back here and we'll drag that. Just copy it in there. Good. So now we have that in there. We need to copy one more, which is from the profile. So we'll go to static DOM profile. Now I'll explain what I mean by this static DOM profile later. Let's just take this profile. So again, all this is going to be available in the GitHub link of this tutorial, so you can easily grab them. And yeah, so right now we have all the HTML files of this template now. And what we can just do now, if I close this up, don't need this for now, we can go into the views file, and instead of returning an HTTP response, we can now render an HTML page. So this is the index function. Obviously we want to render the index.html. What we'll do, we'll say return render, take a request, get index.html. So this is just the line of code we need to show this index.html file. Now let's make sure everything is running good, and let's come back here and hit refresh. We shouldn't see this again, and we should see that template. Let's give it a moment to load that up. Okay, good. As you can see now, we see all the template, we see the template, but it is looking bad. So this is because we have not set up our static files. Our static files is basically any other file that we're going to use in our template file. So any other file apart from our HTML, it might be an image file, a JavaScript file, a CSS file. Any other file we're going to use in this our template, it needs to go into static, and we're going to do that in the next session. So as I said, the reason why our template is not looking good right now is because we haven't connected or set up our static files. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come back to Visual Studio Code. So static files, as I explained in the last video, is basically any other file that we're going to use in our template file apart from the HTML file. So any other image, CSS file, JavaScript file, any other file we're going to use goes to the static. But how do we set this up? Let's do that. So let's close all this again. And similarly to what we did in the last video, we're also going to create a new folder named static. And as you might have guessed, we're going to go into the settings of py file also. And then we're going to set static up. So right here, it just shows this, that's the static URL. But we need to set up the static root and the static files directory. So let's do that. So static underscore root goes to os.path.join is there static files. I don't mind why this is different from this, but this, the next one now is the main connection. So say static files there's first to os the path the join is there comma static right here. Now let's save this. Now let me quickly take a moment to explain why we're even doing this. So Django, whenever we're connecting like images or CSS files, it doesn't connect it the normal way that HTML connects it. So if you work with HTML very well, you know that when you want to link, for example, an image file, what we do is we have an image and we say src equals to, then right here we have like the directory to the image file. It might be in assets slash image.jpg. So for example, in HTML, this is how we link an image file. But in Django, it's quite different. What we just need to do in Django, we need to make sure that this asset slash image file is inside a folder named static. So it must be inside this folder. And after it's being inside that folder, when we are going to the HTML, we need to put something like this and say, with a percentage sign, we'll say static, put this, that to close. So this is the way Django basically sees any external file. And we're going to do this for any time we are linking to any external file. It might be CSS, it might be JavaScript, images, any other file. So this is what we're going to do. So for Django to be able to recognize this, we need to set all these things up, like setting up the static, creating a new folder, and putting the static files in there. And I hope you understood what I just said. Now I can just close that up and save. So now that we have all this set up, the next thing we want to do is to copy all our static folders and files into this static folder right here. I'm going to come into file. First of all, in this template right here, this asset is where all the static for all those HTML is located. External files for all these files. Then this asset, that means we just need to drag the asset into this static folder and do not add folder to workspace, copy the folder. So we've copied it there. But as I said, the profile and the rest have different settings or no, different files together. So what we just want to do now, also copy all the static except PS store and just select that out. And now let's copy the rest. Static, copy in folder. Now everything is going to copy. It's just going to take a few seconds because some files might be larger than the other. So that's done. And we actually do not need this. So we have CSS. This is still there. But as that is doing, we're going to close these settings now. We don't need it. And we're going to actually open this index.html file right here in the code editor. We're going to come to template and open index.html. We're going to get back to this also. Let's just make sure all this as well. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the profile. So 7 items selected, good. But we don't need a static done template. It's not part. I just added that. So we're going to have to kind of remove that. Done template. Go delete it. Cycle bin. So you don't need to understand what I did there. What I just did was I added a file that I want to remove, basically. So now, as you can see, this HTML file is quite different because on top we have something named load static right here. Remember what I explained when I said we don't link files normally? So just to save time and not let you watch hours of tutorial on something not necessary, so I already configured all the linking for the way Django will see it, like the Django templating style. So before you can do this, before you can even like go to a CSS file and add this static and also close it, at the top of the file you need to add something named load static. If we don't add this, it's going to give us an error. So it's basically loading all the static settings, the static file, so this file can use it. So I already did all this for all the whole HTML files I copied. So that's why if I come back here, if I come into template, I come into, so you can see I said static done template. I have the normal template that doesn't have all these configurations done. But before I started filming this tutorial, I just made sure I, tweaked everything so that it will save time. But I hope you understand what I mean by this static. So basically we need to load static first of all, and then anywhere we are linking something, we just need to add this static at the beginning and at the end. So throughout the whole file, I did that. Anywhere we are linking a file, I added everything. If we scroll all the way to the bottom, right here in the JavaScript also, I did that. So that's just how to configure that. And if we scroll up, I notice that right here, we are linking a PNG, but we didn't add static. So let's add static. This, and we close it like this. That's basically how to do it. Now, if we go into our browser and we hit that refresh button, see our website looking good. Let's see. Seconds has to look things. Yeah. The color. Yeah, boom. So as you can see right now, basically have all of this loaded. Everything good. Search for username, the post, users you can follow. So this is just the basic template I used for this. But as you can see now, everything is fine. The static files have been loaded. Load more. JavaScript is also working. So everything is totally good. So now that we have all of this, let's just go ahead by starting with the registration and signing up of a user.